Hey guys, Lane here from Maker's Lane. Welcome back to the channel. It's finally warm out, so it's time to start working on the deck again. So in the last couple episodes, I've been working a lot on the back part of my deck, and I've kind of neglected the front part here. Today we're going to take these posts and turn them into this. It's a really simple project, not a whole lot of wood involved, and it's going to add a lot to the deck. The material for this is basically nothing. All we need is 4 of these 8-foot weather stripping boards for each post. So I have 14 posts, so I need 56. And the cutting is really simple. Now you don't have to do what I'm doing. You can just butt joint them if you don't have a table saw like I do. So I'm going to rip a 45 in them and then cut them to height, and that's basically it. And then I'm going to use the scrap from this to make a little piece of molding for the top and the bottom. Let's first go get some measurements on the posts to make sure we rip these down to the correct size. So like I said, the posts are 3.5 inches themselves. Each one kind of has to be measured because some of them are a little bit wider or thinner. But the overall height of these is 84 inches, but it's actually a little bit taller because I kind of got to go into the roof a little bit, so I'll probably cut it 84.5 to 85 inches. Inside of the angle is going to be 3.5 on this one. It is a 3.5 inch post, so we're good there. It's actually a little bit under, so I'll cut it just a smidge under. It's not even a full tick, under 3.5. And the outside, or the top, will be the 84.5 inches. So let's go ahead and get cutting with those. Okay, so most people, when they would go to do this, they would go ahead and do the calculations and figure out exactly what they needed the outside angle to be in order to cut the inside angle. Me, I'm just not good at it. It seems like every time I do it, I think I get the calculation right. I spend a bunch of time working on the calculation, go ahead and do it, and then figure out, oh, I forgot the width of the blade, or I forgot, you know, this or that, or whatever. I mean, sometimes it works out, but majority of the time it doesn't. So what I do instead is I do the trial and error method, which it's not the best way to do it. I can't even say that because I like it the best. It works out the best for me. So this is a piece of scrap from that board. I could take a different piece, and as long as it's the same width, that would figure out the inside angle, what I needed to cut the outside angle to be. Because the width is what determines where it is on the fence. Because if the width is higher, then it's going to be higher on the fence, which means that's part of the calculation that you make. And I always screw it up. So, again, that's why I do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this blade to 45 degrees going out. So that way, when I cut it, I will use the fence as basically the guide for the top part of the outside width, not the inside width of 3.5. And then once I do that, I flip the board around and then cut it again. And it should be right on the edge because I use this as the edge piece. So when I cut them to length, there'll be a foot extra, and I'll show you what I do with that extra piece here in a second. All right, now that we got this to 3.5, we can go ahead and rip the 4 boards to put up the post. Okay, so these are the top 4 pieces of those boards. What I'm gonna do now is make 8 trim pieces that are basically gonna wrap around the top and the bottom of the post. I'm gonna use these scrap pieces. So before I was ripping it, so I was cutting it down this way. Now I'm going to cross cut it. Most of the time when you're cross cutting, you wanna use like a miter saw or something like that, because if you're using a fence, you can have kickback. I could also use the guide, but I really like using the fence. It gives you cleaner cuts. But you have to be very careful because it can cause kickback. So when you're pushing it through, you have to be straight. If you get it sideways, it can throw it back. It's a lot more dangerous when you're doing 90-degree cuts. When you're doing 45, because the blade's slanted, it tends not to kick back as much. It still can do it, so still be careful. Instead of the inside width being 3.5, I think it's 5 for these. I can't remember. That's not right. 3/16. 5 and 3/16. I am going to do the same thing I did before, a trial and error. I actually know what it is. It's about 5 7/8. So yeah, let's go ahead and get these trim pieces cut. got 8 of these guys and then 4 of these guys. And that's basically all the material as far as wood goes you're gonna need for these projects, other than nails and things like that, which is a good segue. What I'm gonna use to actually connect these and attach them to the posts are going to be finishing nails. So I'm gonna use 1.5 inch finishing nails to actually secure it to the post outside. You can screw these in with some like deck screws or something like that. We'll see next year if that actually holds up, these pieces stay together. If not, I'll have to go back and just screw them in and putty them and everything like that. But yeah, so let's go out there and go ahead and put these up. Basically, we're just gonna frame the outside of this and give it an extra inch overall. So this part is really easy. I'm gonna put the board on there like that, line it up so that the inside edge is lined up, and then take our nail gun and then do that all the way around. Right now this has a little bit of a gap in it, and all I'm gonna do, put this on here just to suck it in so that I don't have a gap in here anymore. And there might be a little bit of overlap as far as like board to board. That's okay, because we're gonna go ahead and actually round these edges with our router. So if you have a little bit sticking over, it's okay. It's actually kind of preferred, that way you know that everything's secured. That's basically it. I mean, there's really nothing to it. You just kind of plop them up there. As long as you make the measurements correct, you really don't have to worry about much. So I still have to add the trim at the top and at the bottom here. But before I do that, I'm going to use my router with a round over bit and go along these edges here and just round them off. I don't really want them sharp. So the reason I'm gonna do this before I put the trim on is because I have to work with the thickness of this when it comes to the top. So I wanna get it as high as possible with that roundness. So that's why I do it beforehand instead of after. The trim pieces I cut earlier. Again, really easy design. Basically, we're just gonna put all 4 of them around in a square and then nail them on with our nail gun. Now that that's done, we can go ahead and start staining it. So to stain this project, I want it to match basically everything else that's on here. So all of these items that I've made are all stained the same color, and that is this golden oak stain. now that we got one put all together, we can start working on the rest. Let's get to it. Alright, so there we have it. I've got all the posts finished, all the ones back here, all the ones up front. In total there were 14 of them, so a lot of posts to do, but really they're not that much work. As long as you have an ability to rip them, that's going to be the hardest thing. Some hardware stores will pre-rip them for you if you have your measurements cut. I don't know if they'll do the 45-degree angle, but if you can't get them ripped, you can butt them up. It's just the joints don't look as good as if they're at an angle. I probably will have to go back and make some adjustments because after a while these boards will start swelling and everything. On our deck here, as you can see right now, we got quite a bit of wind that blows through here. So we can't actually use hanging baskets because it would fill this space a lot better. So instead I'm going to use these posts to hold some flower pots on them. So that will be in one of my future videos on this deck series. I don't know if that one will be the next one, or I need to work on the entryway up front and this path here. So those are what I have as far as upcoming deck project videos. I also have my barn series going on right now, so I'm kind of doing both. So I hop back and forth from one to the other. If it's a nice day out, I'll do this. If you guys have any questions about this, like I said, it's a very simple project. There's not a whole lot to it. They add a lot of character. I mean, just the extra 1.5 inches that these posts are, they really add some awesome character to it. Yeah, again, if you have any questions, just hit me in the comments. Until next time, I'm Lane from Maker's Lane. You guys have a good one.